My choice for media for my final presentation is the song 110th Street by Bobby Womack. The song was written and released in 1972 and remains to be one of Bobby Womack's most popular songs that he has ever released. With the song's popularity, it was able to reach many different areas of people. The song has many themes of poverty and racial inequality that takes place in inner cities and more populated urban cities like New York and LA. The issue of class division is a very prevalent topic in this song. In the song, Bobby Womack describes the inner city life as an evil that we must overcome and survive to barely reach the surface of survival in our society. The life of poverty is very hard and is a struggle on an everyday basis, which is the purpose of this song. He mentions how women are pressured to engage in prostitution by pimps or someone that would employ them for them to make a steady income to support themselves. He mentions prostitution, but also how drugs are directly connected to poverty and are ravishing the projects and everywhere around them. At this time in New York City, in the early 1970s, the city was ravished and completely controlled by crime and all other sorts of deviant crimes. New York City was a very unsafe and unstable metropolis that was doomed for failure if they did not get together and to bring down the crime rates. New York City in the 1970s was known as a lawless city that was riddled with drugs and a increasing crime rate every day, with also a drug epidemic taking over most of the projects and Harlem. 1970s Harlem was a drug-riddled community that was only just a small area a part of New York. Harlem is one of the most crime-ridden and poorest parts of New York City, while it is also the most black-dominated part of Manhattan. It remains to be the most unsafe place to be in Manhattan. The elements of racial inequality and poverty show who it really takes to survive in New York City at this time. The audience for this song, I believe, are people who critically know what is going on with the inequalities of our society and how in certain places of the world inequalities are reproduced constantly. By reproducing inequalities are then perpetuated for years upon decades in the future, never really making an end to what is going on in our society and what is going on in our communities around us. The purpose of this song was to show the world how some places in the United States are so poverty-stricken and so riddled with crime and violence that it is unbearable for Americans to survive and live in. We can see directly how living in an inner city differs much from living in a more rural place. You're not exposed to as many unsafe and unsettling matters as you would on the daily basis of living in an inner city. All the credit and knowledge from this song is connected to Bobby Womack, who is from Harlem, New York, and grew up in a very poor, big family that didn't have many things that other children had. He was raised in a time in the city that was unsafe for families and people all together. He wrote this to show what was going on in the inner cities of America.